Hey guys, Scott here. I have finally played the Knight for about 5 hours. I'm going to be doing more tomorrow too to get some more information. I went against a private match filled with like friends or other people I know to be very good at the game. So probably not a realistic expectation of a standard solo queue match, but I want to see how smart people counter it. And I found that if you play the killer in the way that it's intentionally designed, he's pretty bad. If you try to set up these long patrol paths and use add-ons that affect that distance and the speed and all that stuff, it's just not very good. It's clearly intended because they have add-ons that talk about that. But if you do that, survivors can see where you're using your power. So they'll see where you're trying to cut them off and you just go the other direction. Now you've sent a useless soldier off. It disables your power for, 20 something seconds because it's just patrolling nothing. The survivor has now gone further away in a different direction, and now you're just sitting there because you haven't moved forward. So you end up just losing distance half the time when you try to do it like that. So what I found was a very boring play style where you just you just enter a loop and you use the power for half a second. You just tap it. So the survivor can't go anywhere because you're in your power for half a second. If they hear the chime and leave, well then you just go hit them. But they can't really stay in the loop either because now you've got a sentry drone there. If they run into the field of vision, now they're going to get chased by two people, and they can't win a chase versus two people. So it's sort of like Artist, but it takes longer because you have to wait for the drone to activate, and then you have to wait for the drone to basically turn into ghost form and then materialize, and then they have to actually start chasing. So it's like an Artist process that takes an additional 10 seconds to start, which just makes him just sort of like a worse Artist. But Artist is one of the best killers in the game, so a slightly worse Artist is still very good. And it's kind of a shame. I don't like that that's the best way to play the killer, where I just tap his power. What's the point of all these add-ons that extend the range of the patrol route, the speed of the patrol route, how fast they patrol on that route? What's the point of all those add-ons if the best way is to just tap his power immediately and then just you disable a tile entirely? So I don't know. It's I'm not too fond of that design choice, and maybe they'll tweak something going on later. But I had a bunch of people suggest to me too that he's got good 4v1 potential. He can see people working on a gen, send one of his soldiers to a generator and mess with them for a little while. But then also, try to chase people without his power. So he's basically pressuring two people at once. The thing is, if it's just the soldier chasing somebody, it's never going to hit somebody. You can just run around rocks and just negate the AI of the soldier. Like they're never going to hit you. So you don't even need a pallet. You don't even need a window. You just need a circular object to run around. So if you send them off to try to split pressure, all that's going to do is waste 12 seconds of that survivor's time. That's all it's going to do. And meanwhile, you're chasing somebody now with no power, which means you're not really going to down that person either. So you're just sort of stagnating things. You're not really doing anything except making two people not do anything, but you're also not doing anything. So you just get in this scenario where it's like, what's the point of even doing this? So that whole spreading pressure thing I don't find too useful. The one time I will say it is useful is if you have someone on a hook and you have your soldier patrolling kind of near the hook, and then they try to intercept someone that's going for the save. But even then, it doesn't work because once they detect the person going for the save, they have to turn into their gas form. Then they have to fly to the last point they saw that survivor. Then they activate. Then they start chasing. But if someone is unhooked during that time, it deactivates. So it's like you can't even do it like that. So the whole spreading pressure thing I don't find to be particularly effective at all. Additionally, there's a whole thing where you can send them to, damage generators at a distance. But even then, I don't find this to be a good idea because there can literally be survivors working on the generator. He'll kick it, and then it doesn't even regress at all. And so what you'd want to do there is set the soldier to patrol near the generator, but not kick the generator. The kick gen feature I find to be a complete trap. Also, it doesn't apply things like Eruption and Call of Brine Overcharge, so you're actually getting a weaker kick even if you do that, and you're using your entire power to just set up that one scenario. It just doesn't seem to be worth it. The one break I find to be quite useful, though, is the Carnifex's, he's the first one, the big beefy guy with the big two-handed sword. He breaks pallets really, really fast, 1 second really, really fast, and there's add-ons to make that even faster. So that is extremely useful if you're in that setup where you're at this unsafe pallet and you're kind of dancing back and forth. You just shoot up that guy, you start looping around one side, pallet's broken. As you're coming around the other side, the survivor has nowhere to go and they die. That I found to be by far the most powerful soldier yet. So that was just really strong. The assassin is just he just applies deep wound. Other than that, he kind of functions the same as the other ones. And then the jailer lasts twice as long with a bigger detection radius. But other than that, they all sort of function roughly the same. So overall, I think the way they intend for you to play is unfortunately not the best way to play the killer. And if you want to have a stronger version, you just basically play like the artist and just instantly drop your power right there, and you just invalidate the loop that you're in. Now, if they are right next to another loop or something like that, well, that's the same counter to the artist, and that's the only counter to the artist, hoping that there's a nice connected tile right next to you. Some maps, that's the case. Some maps, you got nothing. So it's going to come down to map RNG, what you got to work with, and I don't know. I just doesn't rub me the right way. Still, aesthetically and the sounds, the metal sounds, the Mori, the Knights of the Round Mori, all just amazing stuff. And I think there's a lot of potential here, but I think there needs to be a couple of adjustments to make his playstyle not super uninteresting to go against. I would love to see that patrol aspect of the kit buffed more, and not the just drop the power on the floor immediately aspect of the kit, which is just not exciting. Other than that, I think he has a potential to be decently strong. He's definitely just going to be a weaker artist. That's the best way I can describe him. So he's not going to be like a top tier or anything like that. But I really have to commend them for going out of their way to make what we originally thought the Legion was going to be. It is really cool. But there's also this banner thing. Once the soldier locks onto somebody, they drop a banner on the ground, and if the survivor is able to loop around something and get back to the banner, they get a giant speed burst, and they also get the endurance status effect, which is nuts. I feel like this is unnecessary, honestly. I feel like destroying the remnant enough is good, but I don't know. That being said, there are a ton of bugs. I can't tell even how the killer is supposed to function sometimes, because things will just straight up not work sometimes, and I've had things phase through walls, phase through windows, phase through pallets. It's supposed to happen sometimes, but then sometimes they just walk through walls entirely. Sometimes the ghost, as it goes to materialize, can damage. Sometimes it doesn't. The AI bugs out. It gets stuck in generators. It gets stuck in walls. So it's really hard to give a good idea of how strong the killer is, because like Wesker, he was really buggy on PTB. It was hard to tell. But when Wesker came out, for the most part, he was actually pretty good. They had to fix the hitbox a bit, but Wesker, for the most part, was in a lot better shape, and I have no doubt that this killer will also get to that point as well. We just need to actually see what they're going to do first. So, first impressions, I think this has a lot of potential, but I'm also a little worried, and hopefully these concerns are heard and they can figure out how to address that stuff. But yeah, I really like what they've done with it. I just want to see those problematic things maybe addressed a little bit. But those are my first impressions. I'll be playing again tomorrow. Maybe I'll update something some more. Maybe some new tech will arise, but currently the best way I found to play this killer is a very boring way. Drop it immediately, negate the tile you're in, and they can't really go anywhere. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.